Folks, welcome back. Today we're going to discuss this video I posted just a few months ago. I'll leave it in the description if anyone wants to go rewatch it. Basically, it was released right after Trump's tariffs went into effect. And the markets took a brief nosedive. The crypto markets took a brief nosedive. And everybody thought we were headed for the Great Depression, the likes of which we had never seen before. The fear mongering was at an all-time high. Everyone was dumping things and raising cash. And I made a video talking about how it was going to be okay. Now it's time to buy. You should be throwing your money into cryptocurrencies. You should be throwing your money into stocks. You should not be selling any of your Pokemon. And a lot of people thought the Pokemon market was in trouble. Of course it was going to follow the downturn in the global economy with the tariffs and all the stock market and crypto markets crashing. And people thought the real estate market was going to crash and all these good things. And it's just funny to look back at videos that were made around then and people in the comments and discords around then and the things that were being said. And it shows you how when a little bit of fear creeps in, it gets people saying crazy things. Now, fast forward to now, you look back and you say, oh yeah, it wasn't a big deal. It was a brief little blip on the radar. Stock market's back to near all-time highs. The crypto markets are back to near all-time highs. The real estate market's fine, and the Pokemon market is relatively unaffected. In fact, there are a lot of items that are higher, and some are at their all-time highs. And I think this is just a good lesson to learn about what's happening right now in the Pokemon hobby. Pretty much the majority of things you hear right now is the market is topping. The crash is imminent. They are gonna, I love this phrase, reprint stuff into the ground. And we've already been through multiple reprints, by the way, guys. Prismatic Evolution's got a massive reprint, massive Costco drops. ETBs are back to 110. Surging Spark's got a pretty decent sized booster box reprint. Boxes are holding up in the 220s, 230s, which is honestly what you expect from reprints. Now, it's not what the crazies online expect. They expect things to drop down to $100 a box or MSRP or something crazy, right? But that's not reality. And this other idea that, Alex, I wouldn't buy anything Prismatic Evolutions, they're printing it into the ground. And I say, okay, well, can I just throw something at you guys? 151, which they've done multiple prints on of bundles and Blooming Waters collection boxes and all this good stuff, right? Hear me out. How is it that the ETBs are still in the high 200s and the UPCs are still in the high 300s, but the packs are still inexpensive and the bundles and Blooming Waters boxes are still inexpensive? Could there possibly be a world where they don't print any more Prismatic Evolutions ETBs and they just keep reprinting bundles and maybe a new collection box they come up with like they did with Sea and Sky for Crown Zenith and Blooming Waters for 151, and that's how they get packs into consumers' hands, and they let the ETBs and UPCs be collectible the same way they did with 151? Look, not trying to create FOMO, but to completely not even take that into consideration is being closed-minded. The fact that that's what they did with 151 tells you that is at least a possibility of something they might do with Prismatic. And so this idea that everybody has these answers online and that they can get on and spread this nonsense of imminent doom, market collapse, market is topping, reprints into the ground, blah, 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 is the same as if you turn on CNBC any day of the week. Just let it play in the background. Over the course of the day, you'll hear some real estate expert come on and talk about how real estate's about to crash. Guess what? That same guy was probably on there a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, saying the same thing, and he's been wrong now for 3 years, right? Someone saying the stock market's going to collapse. They've been saying the stock market's topping out for the last 3 or 4 years, right? What else? The crypto markets. There's a crypto winter coming. There's always a crypto winter coming. And it just goes to show, guys, that in any financial industry, anything that has to do with valuable assets, there are always people out there calling the crash. Everybody always wants this doomsday scenario. But the fact of the matter is, when you look back at history, no matter where you would have bought, if you would have held for any large amount of time, the bears were always wrong. I've said this before. Bought at the top of the Great Depression before it crashed. Held it long enough, you were right, being a bull. Bought at the top of the '08 crash, right? The big real estate crash, and you held, guess what? You eventually made money. Every single time in history, if you would have just held your stocks, held your crypto, held your real estate, you made money. And guess what? Pokemon's the same exact way, right? Everyone is always believing, they have this belief in their head that things are just going to collapse, that every person across the entire globe that sees value in these, that holds them as assets, is all going to agree simultaneously that they no longer have value. Just because some new sets may come out that aren't as sought after, or some demand may fall for a period of time, and some of the new sets may get cheaper, has no bearing on the rest of the Pokemon hobby and the value that is seen in these things and the holdings that a lot of wealthy people have now in these products. And I try to explain this to people. I tried to explain it in that video that, guys, all of this stuff, it's all just noise. It's all just fear. When things drop 10, 20, 30%, that's a buying signal. That is not a pull everything out and get scared and sit in cash signal, right? If things jump up 100, 200, 300% instantaneously, that's more of a sell signal than it is a drop. And Pokemon isn't even doing that right now. Sword and Shield had a massive uptick. And guess what? It corrected. A lot of boxes corrected 20, 30%. That's normal after a big run up, right? And everyone's waiting for that big correction on Scarlet Violet. Guys, Scarlet Violet has not made a massive uptick yet. It's been steadily rising since release. Once it goes out of rotation, out of print, that's when you'll likely see some massive upticks. And then, yeah, it will probably correct from the highs it sets then. It will probably have a period of stagnation. And maybe some things may be a good time to pull out if you're looking to put money somewhere else that may perform better in the same time frame. I'm not here to say you should never sell. All I'm here to say is I watch this nonsense every day on YouTube, and it's always, it's always imminent doom. It's always, we're at a top, we're going to collapse. The reprints are going into the ground, return to MSRP, return to 100 a box, return to shelves being full with product not selling. And it's just like, what are people's goals? Is the goal to, I guess, try to scare enough people out of the hobby or away from enjoying Pokemon so that you can afford more? Because this is the thing. A lot of people in life, not just in Pokemon, just in life in general, they like to project their situation onto others, right? Whatever kind of situation you're in life, if you're happy, you're sad, if you're, you have money, you don't have money, you have a good job, you have a bad job, whatever it is that you have, you project onto others and you think, well, everyone's dealing with this, right? Like, well, everybody is doing bad. Nobody can afford this stuff. It's like, then why is it that every single set still to this day, you have people throwing their money at it. You have stores ordering max amounts from distributors to where there's still no product at distributors and everything still sells relatively quickly. Not just that, you have none of the older products taking nosedives except the couple that got reprints, Surging Sparks, Prismatic Evolutions, which both are now recovering. Things do not recover that quickly when things are weak. Things do not stay high when things are weak. Things do not set new highs like Twilight Masquerade, Paldea Evolved, etc. when things are weak. And the fact of the matter is, guys, the likely scenario is the same likely scenario in every single market. Things are likely going to keep marching forward and marching up. At some point, demand will slow down, right? Printing may be a little higher and some of the new sets may be a little less, spectacular. And they may return to closer to MSRP. They may drop under MSRP. That in no way, shape, or form will mean that Silver Tempest is crashing or Paldea Evolve is crashing. It's not going to happen. There'll always be singles, ups and downs, all those good things. But go back and watch that video if you have a chance and just read some of the comments around that time and go back and watch other videos from a few months ago when the tariffs hit. People were making it sound like life as we knew it was over and we were going to return to the dark ages and everything was going to be so expensive. By the way, remember the whole egg craze? Eggs were so expensive. Have you checked your price of eggs lately? Are they lower? Have you checked the price of gas lately? Is it lower? Are things actually dropping? Are they putting out statistics on CNN now that inflation's actually lower? And everyone thought the world was over. And everybody that didn't, that bought into stocks, that raised their 401k contributions during that time, that bought into cryptocurrencies, that held their Pokemon, held their real estate, whatever it may be, How are you guys doing about now? How are you guys feeling? Everybody did the opposite? Feels pretty stupid, huh? That's all I got.